Hello, welcome to another Album of Record podcast. I'm Craig, joined as always by Andrew. What's going on, Andrew?
Literally, Craig, as you just hit live, I realized I'm wearing the same shirt I wore on last week's episode. So
Perfect.
I promised people I did a wash, but it is the same shirt.
Well, you're wearing
But
glasses
anyway,
this week. You weren't wearing
yeah,
glasses
that's
last
true.
week.
That is true. So
You
people will
fixed the
know.
continuity errors.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, otherwise, I am officially on PTO. Just started this afternoon. I'm off for a week, and I have not taken any PTO this year. Like I've taken like one day here and there. Like I think every month I had one day that I took off, but I've not had like the whole consecutive days off all year long. And so I think I approached something close to like what actual burnout is. Like I've said in my life many times, oh, I'm so burned out, but I think I was actually hitting something like very real. And so I was like, I need to take some time off. So we have some big things coming up here mid-August. So I was like, I better do it now before that stuff hits. So I'm on PTO. I'm feeling good. Yeah, that's why I got my glasses on. I'm in full chill out mode. So not going
That's
anywhere.
nice.
I'd looked at like maybe like going down to Hocking Hills and getting a cabin or something for a couple days, just to like get out into the woods and get away from society for a little bit. But I was like, I'm going to spend a lot of money doing that. Like I can just stay away from society by not leaving my house for a couple of days and just really be a sack of potatoes. So that's my game plan. I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I come from that family business lifestyle. So like even if I were to try and take 2 weeks off, it would absolutely bury me to the point where I wouldn't be able to successfully do it anyway. So I'm the month of July, I steal a lot of long weekends. And so I'll I'll kind of punch out to some degree on Thursday night. I'll check my email in the morning on Friday and only do stuff I absolutely have to do. And I do that like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. So instead of taking a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time, I steal Fridays 3 or 4 weeks in a row in July. And that's my version of vacation. It's really hard, I took spring break this year with my kids, but other than that, the week between Christmas and New Year's, I always try and take because nobody's going to miss me. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to talk about whatever it is that I sell between Christmas and New Year's, but
For sure. You definitely
all right,
find
well,
that like the more responsibility you have at work, the like harder it is to get away because you either are like nervous that maybe things are slipping through the cracks that you're not on top of, so you feel this pull to like, well, I should check my email, I should check Teams, see what's going on, or like you just come back and like you got all this stuff waiting for you. But uh if I'm fortunate, I've got somebody at work that I've been kind of uh, bringing under my wing and kind of showing her some of the things that I do so that she can kind of cover for me a little bit on some of the tasks and it's been super helpful. So I've already seen a couple things come through my email that she said she could take care of. I'm like, all right, that's good. So
you're making yourself redundant, as they say in
that's
Britain.
right. That's right. So
Well, it's we're going to start this week on a downer. It's not new news because everybody else has already reacted to it, but since we last spoke to you, the world lost Glen Hansard. Even before he was part of the Pearl Jam extended universe, I was a huge Glen Hansard fan. I not since the Commitments, although I saw the Commitments when he was in that movie way back in the old days. I can't even pinpoint the year, but somewhere along the line, I found out about his band, The Frames, and I fell in love with Fitzcarraldo, the record. It kicks off with Revelate, and I just fell in love with all of those songs. And then, Say It to Me Now ended up becoming one of the big hits when the Swell Season and all that other stuff came later. And then he formed a relationship with Eddie Vedder. Tender Mercies was an incredible song from a couple of years ago. This one really smacked me in the face. It was just so sad. He was out at a musician's night. One, got himself into a motorcycle accident that took his life, and just everything about it was utterly brutal. It just felt unfair by the universe.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard when you can literally watch video of his last performance and know that he's those are the final hours of his life. Uh, I think that makes it even harder. Um, you know, I it just like one of those things that, first of all, obviously, like it's always, of course, it's a tragedy for him and his family, but like you really do feel at a certain point, like, do the guys in Pearl Jam just have to feel like, I don't know, like star-crossed or something, whatever the word is. Like there's been so many people in their universe, as you say, that, that have passed away. And it's kind of like this really like bizarre thing. But I you know, I'm not
Well,
gonna
and
sit here
some
and
of that
say,
just comes with age too, because the older we get, the more people we are going to lose because we know so many more people from a large period of time.
yeah. But the crazy thing about like Pearl Jams is like so many of them were not natural cause deaths. Like a lot of them were accidents, overdoses, self harm, things like that. But it's I don't know. It's just it's just hard. Like thinking about like I go through, like for me, I feel like this is like a little bit similar to like when Mark Lanigan passed away. Like for me, like my feelings about Mark Lanigan. Um, I don't I'm not going to sit here and say I was a huge Glen Hansard fan of like music wise. My only real connection to him was through the Pearl Jam universe. So I didn't have the same experience with him as you did. So I'll let you talk maybe a little bit more about that if you want. But there's just something about, in all walks of life, you have a lot of death and, it's always tragic. But like in music, you have like these two like things that kind of happen. It's like, first of all, music exposes you to a lot of things that might lead to death. If I don't know the other way to say it, but like it just feels like there's a abnormally large amount of death in, music, particularly rock music and the kind of music that we like. We've talked about this before with, some of the self-harm, suicide kind of things that I think being an artist sort of predisposes you to being a little bit more sensitive to the world. And, I think sometimes that can kind of lead to that. It can lead to drug use and things like that. And then you throw these accidents on top of it. And, it's always hard. But there is something that I always find remarkable when musicians passed away, that I don't know you always see it in other walks of life, but this sense of community and spirit that bonds around it. There's always like a lot of powerful art that comes out of the tragedy and the loss. And, I it's hard to sit here and say like, oh, it's inspiring, because like that acts like, oh, this was a great thing. But, obviously it's not. But yeah, you can't change that. Like that loss is very real and it's there. And the question is just like, how do you come together and support each other as a community, and what kind of art comes out of that? And, you shared some clips of, his celebration of life, and it's was really cool to see, different musicians come together and create music together as a way of celebrating his life and remembering him. But, you know, from afar, he always seemed like a great guy. Even if I didn't really listen to his music a lot, if you've seen Pearl Jam, I feel like in some way, shape, or form, you've seen Glen Hansard, whether opening or just making a guest appearance or, whatever. Like he's always kind of been in the picture. So I would experience him through that. And I always enjoyed him. I just saw him in Indianapolis on the Dark Matter tour opening, and I really enjoyed his set. But, it's, I don't know. I guess I don't know what else to say other than this just really
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that had a super long career, started when he was really young. At some point, his band didn't really make the jump to giant international fame. And then he does the movie once that highlights a lot of his music, and he writes some new music with Marketa Erglova. They call that the swell season, and they go on this massive worldwide tour. And before I was even, no, I was married, but I didn't have kids yet. Back in 2008, we went to Chicago to see him play in one of those giant old theaters in downtown Chicago. And I've written about this on the website before, but one of the most powerful musical moments I've ever witnessed live, I'll never forget it, was, he came out and he's talking to the crowd into the microphone, he's bantering, he's doing his thing, and he says, "Hey, if everybody's really quiet, I'm going to try something." And he walks past the microphone to the front of the stage. You could hear a pin drop in the audience. And he just starts playing the acoustic guitar and sings "Say It to Me Now" a cappella with that huge busker's voice that he'd been developing over the course of however many years. And without any amplification whatsoever, he filled up that entire place and just brought the house down basically to start the show. And I mean, it's just one of those moments. I get chills even telling you the story now. When I wrote about it at the time, it was just, and you can Google these videos, you can see them, and the YouTube videos almost do it justice. And it's just incredible. How much did I keep up with his career after all of that? Not as much as a super fan necessarily, but of course, the he did that song "Tender Mercies" where he and Eddie Vedder duet, and if you haven't heard that song, I'm telling you, it is one of the most powerful songs I've ever heard. And Glenn wrote it, Eddie sang backup on it, sang harmonies on it, and so it's just, obviously it's tragic, but the music that he made was inspirational not only to audiences but to other musicians, and that's why Bono shows up and Eddie Vedder shows up and all these people that he touched in the music community, and everybody talks about how he was a community supporter, like a music community supporter. He would pump you up when you were down. He would tell you to keep going. He would give you confidence. He was like the wise old with the sage advice, to kind of keep everybody going. And to have him cut down at 56, it's very timeless music. We should have had decades longer with him and his music.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know what the exact saying is, but like something like you can tell a lot by a person, by the company they keep. And when you see the people
who show up at his funeral,
the people who show up at his funeral and the people who have paid tributes to him publicly, like it's clear, the people that he's touched, and my when we talk about this, like community, like coming together, like it really does remind me a lot of, when Bo Luders passed away,
mm-hmm.
and the way the hardcore community like came together, and like you saw the outpouring of support and people who loved Bo, who were a million times more popular. Their bands were way bigger than Harm's Way. And, I think it's a little bit similar with Glenn, where, a lot of heavy hitters were dear friends with him. And even though he may not have had the same success level as them, he clearly wasn't bitter by it. Instead, he fostered and championed that community. And so, I think it just says a lot when you see, the people who really truly pay their respects, not in just a passing, like, oh, we'll miss you, sorry for your loss, but like real heartfelt community and, tribute. And so very cool to see
the other
Glenn.
Inspirational piece was on social media. There were all these people posting about how they randomly would meet him on the street and he would sing a song with them, or like just making himself available in ways that you just can't imagine being scalable and sustainable. And he did it. And he represented his country, Ireland. He represented the music scene. He kept the song. The night he passed, he was at a songwriters round table, whatever you want to call it, in a small pub in Ireland, in Dublin, where he, by all accounts, many other musicians would have considered themselves too big for that anymore. And nope, he was there with all these quote unquote regular people, because he himself considered himself a regular person up until the very end, no matter how much success he'd had, winning an Oscar and all the different things that would give other people a big head. It seems like he kept it in check.
Yeah, it's well said. And I don't have a lot else, I guess, to add to that particular point. I think that kind of speaks for itself and is a pretty fitting way for us to pay tribute to Glenn in our own way. So well said.
All right, let's move on to your contribution this week. Soundgarden's final album is now being mixed.
Yeah. So I want to say June or July, Kim Thale did an interview, Soundgarden guitarist Kim Thale, and he said, yes, we're doing the album, and it's going to come out in 2027, but he didn't really offer a lot of details about it, at least not that I saw. So Matt Cameron a few days ago went on a podcast, and he confirmed that they are indeed in the mixing process as we speak. There are 8 songs that are going to have Chris's vocals on them. Matt said there's also a couple instrumental demos that Kim has said that he wants to finish, and Matt said that's cool with him. He's happy to finish those as well. So when they say finish, I don't know if that means they will stay instrumental or will Matt sing? Will they have somebody else come in and sing? I don't know what that means exactly, but yeah. So I would say we're at minimum looking at 8 songs with Chris Cornell vocals and maybe a couple instrumental tracks as well as a possibility. Probably going to come out next. Matt did not confirm 2027. He kind of said we're just doing this one step at a time. First step is get the mixing done, and then we'll move to the next step and just complete the process in its own due course. But if Kim is overseeing it and say in 2027, I'd say that's probably a decent chance that that's what he's shooting for. So I guess what I want to talk about with this is a couple of things. One thing is just personally, what is your degree? Well, I don't even know the degree is the right word, but what are your emotions? What do you think when you hear about this happening? Are you excited? Do you have trepidation or
Yeah.
I'm curious where your head it goes. So I'll let you do yours first, and then I'll kind of tell you my thoughts on it.
If I'm being perfectly honest, I'm nervous, but I'm trying to just go zen with it and let it be what the band needs it to be. And even if it is, I'm just going to be blunt, even if I think it's not for me and not very good, just, it's okay. It doesn't have to be great. That this band, Chris Cornell's legacy, owes me nothing. And I will listen to it, and I hope that there's something I find redeeming from it that I want to carry with me going forward. But even if not, I'm okay. There's some early Soundgarden material that doesn't do anything for me either. So why should I treat late material? I always hate that idea. And this is especially in Star Wars universe or Lord of the Rings, or where people say, well, you destroyed my childhood. And it's no, you can put out the worst Star Wars movie of all time. If you love those first 3 movies, it's a decision to let something new ruin something that you love, that was beloved from the past. And I would never allow anything to do that.
What about Game of Thrones final season? Does that ruin the entire series?
I liked it.
I did too. That's so funny.
I was defensive because it felt like a fan base was trying to tell artists how to art. And I'm like, yes. Shut your face, take it or leave it, but don't try and edit it.
The fans do not narrate the story. You are observers of the story. And it's fine to say that it didn't go the way you wished it would have. And I understand some of the feelings of, well, okay, in case anybody needs a spoiler alerts here, but
Well,
anybody who,
let me distract the point even further. The last
yeah,
season of Ted Lasso isn't great. It's not. But I
yeah.
don't care.
What,
The previous seasons were amazing.
well, you're not, when you say the last season, you mean season 3, not this season that just came out today, right?
Before the women's club reboot.
Okay. All right. I'm still excited for more Ted Lasso. I'm
I'm gonna
kind of in the
watch it.
same boat. That last season was not great, but I enjoyed being in Ted Lasso's universe for another season, and I'm excited to be back in Ted Lasso's universe again. Even though I have trepidation about this season, I really do. But we'll see.
And they keep
And
making new Game of Thrones stuff that is not nearly what it's not
yeah,
even close.
yeah. So it. I think the art speaks for itself. Like the legacy cannot be destroyed after something has been built. But for me personally, when I saw the thing, I was overwhelmed with joy and excitement. Very excited. Like, yes, it's actually happening. I get to have more Chris Cornell. And at some point in my excitement, I remembered King Animal. and, and I don't like that album. I think it is close to an objectively bad album. And so then the trepidation sets in.
Worse
Like,
than Gigaton?
I think it's worse than Gigaton, yes.
I think so too.
And I just recently, like within the last year, listened to King Animal again just to see like has my taste changed or whatever. And like I just didn't resonate with anything on it. Like there's not a single song on it that like I feel really great about.
But
And it
like
hurts
to
me
our
to say that
point,
because
I love Stone Temple Pilots. I think number 4 is a really bad record.
well, I do too. That's the one with Sour Girl, right? God, I hated that song so much. But
Yeah, me
anyways,
too.
I like so I feel a weird feeling because like I'm kind of nervous about it. Like I don't want another bad Chris Cornell album in the world, I guess. But I think to your point, like it's not my place to say that I don't want if this is what Chris if this is what Kim and Ben and Matt want to do, and if this matters to them and they think it's important to the band's legacy and to Chris's legacy, then they have every right to put it out. I am not narrating the story. I'm an observer, and
You can take it or leave it.
it may not be what I want from a Soundgarden album, but hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they were into this like really cool creative space and we're building something amazing. Like I can be hopeful even if I'm not confident in my hope. But yeah, I don't know. And it's a weird thing too, because like obviously I don't think when King Animal came out, I had a feeling of like, oh my gosh, I hope Chris Cornell never makes another Soundgarden album. Like I didn't feel that way. It was always like they can do better than this. Like let's get back in the studio and try it again, boys. Like you guys can do better than this. So then when he passes away, there was a part of me that was like, man, it kind of stinks that that's the final chapter in the Soundgarden book. So like I do have
let me
this
interrupt with
feeling
a
of
question then. So do
yeah.
you think that you're going to be grading this one on a curve?
Oh, what a great question. Wow. What a great question.
Let me answer it first.
How
From
can
my
I not?
perspective,
Yeah,
I will not be grading this on a curve.
Okay.
If I think this is not good, I'm going to leave it in the dust for myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. Like this I don't have any like real experience where an artist that meant as much to me as Chris Cornell did had, what do they call it? Posthumous? Is that how you pronounce it? Posthumous?
Yeah,
Posthumous?
we got to talk to some rap fans because
Yeah,
rap
they do it all the
or
time.
Prince has more posthumous releases than basically
See,
anybody.
I'm not a Prince guy. So I just don't know how I'm going to react to it. Like how I'm going to like judge it and weigh it. Like it's going to be so surreal to listen to, new Soundgarden music. And as you know, when Chris Cornell passed away, I mean, I didn't listen to Soundgarden or Chris Cornell music for multiple years. That's how long it took me to be ready to want to listen to it again. So I don't know how I'm going to react to it. And I think
See, and
there's
I'm
a
the
part of
opposite, man.
me,
I like to bask in the misery. Like I listen to
yeah,
more when somebody passes away.
I do that with a lot of people. It was just, I don't know. The Chris Cornell thing was just weird for me. And I think we might have talked about it a little bit in a very old episode, Chris's
We did talk
passing and
about it
what that
because we
meant.
talked about when you finally went back and started listening for the first time.
Yeah. And so, this one just hit me super, super hard. And I just couldn't listen to it for a while. So, now I listen to Soundgarden all the time again. Like I'm over that. But I don't know. It's such a funny thing to be have such weird conflicting feelings. Like I wish I could be a little bit more zen like you, a little more laissez-faire about it, and we'll see, but whatever. But like I do feel like there are some kind of weird stakes for me. And I don't know what those stakes are, because I agree with you that this won't make me hate Chris Cornell, even if it's bad. It won't make me hate Soundgarden, but like I don't know what those stakes are, but in my head as I think about it, like I feel like there's some kind of weird, like, coming to terms, like this is going to be like saying farewell, like truly saying farewell. And like, in what form and fashion do I get to walk away feeling good about the last music I'm going to hear from Chris Cornell? Or am I going to be disappointed again? And I don't know. I
The
will find
interesting
out
thing
next
is
year.
that I feel like the debate over whether people aren't debating whether or not this should happen anymore. I think 20 or 25 years ago, there would have been people taking stances on different sides on whether or not this should even come out. And I think people are allowing artists to just make those decisions now.
Yeah, I hope I caught all that. You went a little robotic for me on my end, so I don't know if that's my internet being a little bit weird or yours. But yeah, so I didn't totally catch that point.
Yeah, I well, and hopefully I'm coming through now. I was just saying like I don't feel like people are debating the whether or not we should do this anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it is definitely on my end. I just had a little thing pop up that Riverside is trying to stabilize my connection. So we'll see if I drop out. But yeah, I don't think people are having that kind of debate. Like, I don't think it's like this moral line in the sand for music or anything like that. Those aren't really the stakes, I guess, that I'm thinking of. It, like I said, it's more for me about the personal, just how I'm going to react to it. So more so than like a bigger picture, like should they have done this or not?
Yeah. Well, and not every band has something as magical as Nirvana had with "You Know You're Right" sitting in the tank. That, all of a sudden, the posthumous one song turns out to be, and I don't think I'm grading on a curve. I think that's one of the best songs Nirvana ever put out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. That was always one of those things where, for me, when I would talk about uh, like what we lost when we lost Kurt, like thinking about like the direction they might have been going, like you really felt excited about it. And yeah, it's just unfortunately we'll never know what direction that was actually going to go.
Yeah. Well, I assume it's going to be clear when all this uploads, but you're still glitching out a little bit on me. The last story of the day for us, and maybe this is going to be a slightly truncated episode compared to what we're used to. Um, Brooklyn Vegan Alternative Press, some massive layoffs. I didn't even realize that they were owned by Veeps and Live Nation. Are you familiar with Veeps, the platform, the website where they do live streams of bands?
I was not familiar with it, no. And I was surprised to see how much like consolidation they have and how many of these media outlets they own. But yeah, I was definitely not familiar with them prior to this story.
This is really going to harsh my mellow. I get so much, obviously stereo gum, thank God for stereo gum. Pitchfork. There are others, but Brooklyn Vegan has become, or I mean, has been for a long time, a really great source for me to find new music, to think about the year in music, to think about the year's releases in music, and if it goes away, I feel like there's a corner of the music world that's not going to be covered at all.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of went through this a little bit with when Stereo Gum had their issues, and when it seemed for a second like maybe Pitchfork was even going to go away, or and they certainly have cut back on the amount of reviews that they do. It's just like we're just watching this slow and steady like loss of really important music media, and it's frustrating. It's just really, really frustrating that like we live in this era that we can't figure out how to produce great, like valuable content covering music that matters so much to so many people, and that you can't build a business model around that. And I don't know if it's the result of that, these sites being bought up by bigger companies who expect like, maybe like because I assume when they buy it, you buy it as an investment thinking like the needle's always going to go up. But what if like they already have their audience, and so that needle isn't necessarily going to go up? You're just trying to like stay steady, and maybe that makes them view it as a more negative thing than what it actually is. I don't know, but yeah, just very frustrating to keep losing all of these different outlets.
When I think it's starting to mirror the topic that they cover. I mean, the fragmentation of the music scene without radio, without MTV, without any kind of unifying force to create the monoculture around music, or any monoculture around music, means that you know we're left without any strong voices. And so there, I know we still have bands who play arenas, but there are millions and millions of much smaller bands that can't quite make the living that they used to make when radio and MTV were part of the zeitgeist. Um, and there's just no way to get it back. So I feel like these voices will still be there, but there'll be one-offs on Substack or on social media without any kind of a platform. The unifying platform has had some value over time, and the fact that
Mm-hmm.
we're losing them all, because we lost Uprock's music. We lost.
Yeah.
It's just been systematically in decline for a very, very long time. And maybe it's just old guys being sad about change, but I don't think so.
Yeah, because like the thing about change is like change implies that there's something coming in behind this, and we just haven't seen that. Like, uh, I don't know what's really truly like replacing it. It just seems like it's just loss. Like we're just losing all these outlets. Like, I mean, I guess yes, there's people who can tweet about music and build a following there and monetize their or X account, I guess, whatever. Like, I mean, I guess that's a thing you can do. But like, even like to say like, well, there's YouTube now, but like, YouTube isn't genuine. YouTube, like, as much as people got mad about, clickbait headlines in writing, it's a million times worse on the YouTube side in terms of like playing the algorithm game.
Yeah.
And, nothing is sincere. Everything is just done to appease the algorithm. And so it's hard to get like genuine content in those arenas. And I just feel like the music publication, I mean, it always made sense that we were going to lose. And I guess kind of circling back to my point, like when we lost magazines, Rolling Stone magazine and Spin magazine and myriad other, I'm sure you remember, like we used to go to the grocery store and there'd just be a wall of music magazines,
Well,
and you just
and I said at the beginning, but I focused on Brooklyn Vegan Alternative Press. It really hits close to home because that one was founded in Cleveland in 1985. So,
yeah.
for Ohio boys and myself living in Northeast Ohio, that one was in my backyard.
Yeah. And but in like so as we lost like those like print versions, like the thing that was coming in behind it to replace it was online content. And uh and that was still substantive content, like it's real content. And again, yes, there was clickbait headlines, yes. Sometimes algorithms might dictate uh a certain style of article, like if you're like, oh hey, these short 300 word album summaries are doing really well, so like let's just keep doing that. Like yeah, that's a decision that's not being made necessarily because of the content, but because of the reaction that's driving it. But like that's also kind of always happened even in print media, just slower. but but my point is, I just don't see this unified thing that's taking this space. It just feels like we're losing music journalism, and it sucks.
Yep. Yep. Much like our first topic, there's nothing else to say except it sucks. So
Yeah.
why don't we get ourselves to the IndieCast recommendation corner in honor of IndieCast recommendation corner. And I'll actually go first because not only did we steal the bit from IndieCast, I'm just going to go ahead and steal this one. Bears repeating because I enjoyed this record that Ian Cohen recommended last week so much, and I'm looking at the plays on Spotify, and every track is under 10,000 streams. So I want to give more highlight to this band, Citrus Junior. Their record is called Sign My Cast. Came out in May of 2026, and it is a pure emo record, and it's throwback to the early 2000s, maybe the 2010s, even. And it's for a guy like myself who's in his late 40s, it's way immature lyrically. But if I can put myself in the time machine, it sounds like the stuff I love when I was 22 and 25 and 23. And these were the shows that I was going to back then. And so for me, it's got a nostalgic throwback feel. But if you're 20 something today, you're going to love this record. If this is your style of music, it's pure, man. It's pure.
Yeah, I listened to it. Very good album. So I concur with you, who is concurring with our
Ian
good
Cohen.
friend Ian Cohen. For mine, I'm going to go with an EP by a band that has been around since the early 90s. Their first album actually came out in 1994. They're still around. And so you might be thinking I'm about to talk about a grunge band of some sort, but I'm not. I'm going to talk about one of the originators of true shoegaze music, in my opinion. I'm talking about the band Starflyer 59. Ostensibly, like, not even ostensibly, it is Jason Martin's project. He's the only member that's been in Starflyer the whole time. He's worked with a bunch of different people throughout the years. Starflyer started out as a Christian rock band on the I think they were on I'm pretty positive they were on Tooth and Nail Records. You remember Tooth and Nail Records? Because I know you dipped your toes a little bit in
Boy,
that.
do I love Tooth and Nail Records.
Yeah. And so these guys were on early Tooth and Nails. And My Bloody Valentine put out Loveless in 1993, I think. And Starflyer's debut album, Silver, came out in 1994. So right around the same time. And the sound is remarkably similar of those two albums. They were both kind of doing the same thing at the same time. Just this like wall of guitar crushing shoegaze music. It's a phenomenal album. I highly recommend anybody who likes shoegaze go check out Silver. But through the years, though, they've moved further and further away.
Can I talk about Tooth and Nail for a second? Because I'm looking at the list.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Oh man, Copeland. I don't know if you
Yep.
remember Copeland.
I
I was
remember
a
Copeland. Yep.
huge fan of that band. There's a band called May, M-A-E,
Oh
that
yeah, I remember May.
Destination Beautiful was an incredible record. This one's going to blow your mind. I forgot about this one. P.O.D.
Yep. That
A
early Tooth and
band,
Nail band.
a band called Emery, who I love, and actually has a new record coming out. Those guys hit the
Oh, really?
nostalgia circuit on the festivals, and
Yeah.
they've got a new record coming out this year, from what I understand.
Nice.
And I'm trying to think. Further Seems Forever,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
Sometimes Sunday is going to be on that list. Just ridiculously great band who just put out 2 incredible albums and then disappeared. Trying to think who else. Who else was
Anne
on that?
Boleyn, Acceptance.
Amberlin, yeah. I think even some of the Supertones were on that. Maybe even like the Insiders. Like I think some of that like Christian ska, like the punk ska stuff, hit tooth and nail.
Yeah, I'm sure this is not an exhaustive list, but do you remember the band As Cities Burn?
I don't know that one. No.
Okay, I know I had one of their CDs back in the day.
Yeah.
Me
It's
Without
so
You, so many.
like that. The early mid 90s had such a vibrant underground Christian rock scene. They're like truly great hardcore punk, metal, just a thriving scene, which unfortunately like really got overlooked. And I mean, some of these bands had some crossover stuff, including the band I'm talking about, Starflyer 59. They definitely crossed over in the shoegaze scene, and like I
Yeah.
don't know I don't know that they're still even considered a Christian band. I don't know, where they're at now, but over the years they just went away from shoegaze, and Jason Martin started experimenting all the time, and he's put out acoustic albums, he's put out electronic leading albums, he's put out like not country but like a western spaghetti tinged sound.
That's
Like
funny.
he's been all over the place, but the quality has always been there. And still 35 years later, whatever 32 years later, they got a new EP out called Disappointed. And this time he's going in a post-punk direction, which I mean, again, 30 years as a band and they've never sounded like this. And now they put out this really great 3-song EP. All 3 songs are great.
When I noted to you
And
that the second one just sounds like the Pixies to me.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
really good.
yeah. And so highly recommend checking out this EP. But I also would also very highly recommend checking out their debut album, especially Silver. You check out Gold, Americana. They got a lot of good stuff throughout their years, but that was like Silver was like this really like important album to me. And like even before I knew what shoegaze was, I knew it sounded different than anything else I was listening, because I heard Starflyer before I heard My Bloody Valentine. And so it was just so unique, and I was like, this is different. And then I found out, oh, there's a term for this. They call it shoegaze. So yeah, check it out.
All right. Well, that does it for us. I'm really happy. I felt like I was nervous about this episode because I thought it was just going to be a total downer. But I think
Yeah.
we made it through some difficult topics, keeping our head up and keeping it positive.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely had too many death episodes.
Which is not our fault. We talk about
not
what's
our
going
fault.
on.
But like, man, it'd be nice to have a nice long break till we have to do another one. So
Although, could you imagine the numbers on the episode where you revealed that you killed the musician we're talking about?
Oh my gosh.
This one was Andrew's fault, and we're going to talk about it.
Was a true crime podcast mixed with a rock music podcast? Like, that's the crossover we're looking for.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. You can find everything we do on YouTube, Album of Record, on all your podcast platforms. We thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time. It's been the Album of Record podcast.